Hello? If I turn my volume all the way up. Wait, oh, that's you. Is it just you and me?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot. Hold on.
I can hear you.
You can hear me? But I don't know why you're not going through my headset.
Oh. Go down, Kara, go down to the microphone by mute and click on the right, on the caret next to it.
I got it. So here's Sally. I'm going to let her in. We have a lot of people. I'll let Beth in.
I'd get bored in first.
Yeah. Do you know who 854-0239 is? Sounds familiar.
Let me see if I can look.
Sometimes I just checked my phone.
Wait, that does sound familiar, just recently.
Do you know Sally?
I'm just going to check my phone.
Yeah, I just checked mine, but
nothing.
I don't know. No.
85239?
Yeah.
No. Hold on.
We're missing Anna. It's not Anna.
She's coming. No.
Okay. I mean, we have 15 people waiting, but.
That's all right. They can wait.
Yeah.
No. Nobody on mine.
315854. Say it one more time.
Oh, hold on. 0239.
Nope.
What's Marty's?
No, Marty's on.
Marty's is?
Yeah, as Marty.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Do you want me to let Jerry in?
Who?
Jerry.
Or
I love it. I just love it.
They're all sitting right next to me eating dinner. So
makes my heart sing. Tell them we said hi.
Everybody said hi. Hi.
Hi. I'm waving as if they can see me, right? Hello. Have a good dinner.
What's for dinner?
I made turkey and mashed potatoes and gravy and cranberries and stuffing and.
Nice.
I got like 3 bites, so we're good.
Yeah, me too, but mine wasn't nearly as good.
I don't see. The only one we're missing is, there's Klaus. And then Anna. I don't see Anna yet.
I know to her a while ago, so.
Yeah, I just texted with her 5 minutes ago.
Okay. That's not her, the 315-854-0239.
No.
Carol, did you know that Janet Green died over the weekend?
I did know that.
Yeah.
I didn't hear any more than that. Did you, Jerry?
I spoke to her son this morning. He said that she had been in hospice for a few weeks.
She?
He was able to spend time with her. He flew out. Because she was in hospice, they relaxed the rules about family contact.
Oh, good.
And what, Jerry, was it just the dementia? I mean, did that all in all catch up with her?
I think that was pretty much it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, she wasn't doing well here in Canton, so they moved her out to a facility there, which was supposed to be focused on that kind of problem. So.
Yeah. Well, I said to somebody, it was maybe Mike today or somebody, she was such a vital, wonderful, amazing person who would not have wanted to live that way. So I think it's peace and just, there she is.
Yeah, she lived next to my mom.
Yeah.
Hi, all. Sorry about that.
How are you doing?
Hanging in there. Thank you. How are you?
Okay.
Just hang on a second, okay? Tim's griping that he's stuck in the waiting room, so I just want to let him sit there a little longer.
We have 15 people waiting, so I know everybody except that phone number, so.
You want to just run through who's there?
Yeah,
Just to
I
give us-
can. It's Linda, Marty, Katie Murphy, Cindy Brand, Chief Sanema, Annie Ruberty. I figured out that's Adam
Adam.
from North Country. Yeah. Kevin Logan, Tim Danahy, John Gray, Toby Irvin, Lee. Hold on. My computer just did something. Christina Martin, Jeff Murray, and then that 854-0239.
That could be, yeah. Okay, good. I'd say let him in.
Okay, here we go.
Could the person with the phone number 315-854-0239 let us know who you are so we can change your name on the screen? You can just put it in the chat if you want, or you can come off mute and tell us. I'll try this. Oh, no, that won't work. Hi, can the person with the phone number 315-854-0239, I will take you, can you please just tell us who you are? Kara, can you unmute that phone number?
Yes, I did ask them to unmute, but they did not
I
unmute.
see, and we can't, they can't put it in the chat because they're on a phone.
I can put them in the waiting room until, I don't know how that will work.
Okay.
Kendall Lawrence.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
We got everybody in, Kara? Everybody ready to get started?
Mhm.
I just want to say a quick welcome to Marty, being new to this meeting.
Well, was gonna introduce him anyways, but
Sorry.
okay, let's call this meeting to order. You ready, Kara? Okay, well, first things we're gonna do is introduce our new person here. Marty Miller is our new DPW superintendent. Welcome. It's maybe a little different than how you do it in another place that you're involved in, but we'll figure this out. Again, this meeting is being held via Zoom based on executive orders, and the latest executive order was 202.60. With that being said, the first order of business is to approve minutes of August 17th and September 4th. Need a motion?
So moved.
Klaus,
Second,
who was that?
Beth.
Beth, all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We'll move on to department head reports. And at the top of the list is animal control, who's not here.
Could I just ask a question
Yes.
about animal control? I couldn't even read that. did anybody read that and were they able to decipher it? Because there seemed to be an issue, but I honestly couldn't read it.
Yeah, I can understand what his writing is, and I think maybe Sally can. There was an issue with an individual and a dog, and it involved Dan Fay. The police got involved in it also.
So what does that require of us? I mean, those our reports from him have usually been pretty benign. It was too bad that there was an issue and we couldn't read it, or I couldn't anyway. And I guess I don't know how to handle that going forward.
Well, I can talk to Sally. I know Sally talks to him on occasion. We'll see if we can find a way to make his reports a little more clear.
Thank you.
Sally, okay?
I'm good. I can assist him with that.
Thank you, Sally.
You're
Thank
welcome.
Okay, next one up is Linda, historian. Oh, you're still muted, Linda.
Owen.
There you go.
Right. Well, today I heard news they did accept the Pomeroy intent letter. So I have to have have you all read that report? And I showed you what I'm applying for. And so tomorrow I will start my primary uploads to them. I think it's time Canton started getting some markers in. And I think the town hall would be the first one to start with. And they're free. I'll have to ask the town or village to implant it in whatever side of the sidewalk we decide. But you all know what they look like, right? And are you pleased with that we first get our first marker?
Sure.
Right.
I think it's cool.
Yeah, I want one out in the county home road at going to Worley, and then one for the Harrington Hotel. But let me just. And then today I was on story. Got double words there. I was on the New York State Historian's site. They canceled the conference, which was to be in Oswego, but we had a Zoom meeting today. And our local historian from Ogdensburg, Julie Manders, did a nice presentation on media, multimedia, and what was the other one? Oh, just to have it so you can talk on your page, whatever you post. So that was very exciting. And tomorrow it's the second day. I've gone to about 10 of those yearly meetings, and it's nice still getting together. So I appreciated that. And thank you, Marty. Where's Marty?
He's there.
For the wonderful job on the road from Appleton to the Minor Street Bridge. I went on it that day. I didn't know it was happening. And I go, oh my gosh, she's out there with the men and they're all chuckling. And I said, it's done. I mean, I've been riding that road for 4 months on my bike and I had to get off and start walking because it was just too bad. So Marty, welcome and thank you very much. And if you have any questions for me, let me know.
Linda, did you say Julie Manders is the historian for Ogdensburg?
Oh, Julie Madlin, M-A-D-L. Yeah. She's dynamic. Go on North Country Now under opinions and blog. And that's why I want to start the blog that Bob Wash show and Karen are working with me on, because she has a blog page under opinions on North Country Now that is dynamite. She talks at presentations when she's standing in front of the house.
Great.
So that I would foresee doing something like that. You know, she's a great historian, so check out her page. Anything else?
I think we're good. Thanks, Linda.
Good night. I'm going to go off picture because I've got to eat my dinner. I'll stay on. Good night, everybody.
Night.
Good night. Have a good night.
Thanks, Linda. Next one is Lee.
Hi, I'm here.
Hi, Lee. You have your report. Is there anything you'd like to highlight or update us on?
I guess a couple of minor updates. The Dairy Queen, as I understand it, did open today. So
Yep.
that's good. They had a slight delay, but we're able to open today. So we're happy about that. Did I forward to you all, and if I didn't, the housing or the market study that was done on the BOA.
I did.
Okay. We had Alan Pembroke, who completed that study, come and do a rundown for us at the Economic Development Steering Committee, which was really helpful. We've got several subcommittees now working on various projects, including marketing, housing, and broadband, I think. No, social. We don't have broadband yet, I don't think. Maybe social justice. Diversity, yep. I don't have a whole lot to update since my report. So I guess if there's questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions out there?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yes.
It's really more on Lee's behalf, more than really a question for Lee. At the end of Lee's report, she listed, and I think this is partly because we had asked, the Communications and Technology Committee had asked just about anticipated expenditures and also about professional development. I have a question about Lee and really all the staff. If there is money in the budgeted for professional development, do they need the approval of the board to sign up for professional development opportunities, or is it sufficient to meet with the committee, or how does that work exactly? And I guess my other question is, and I know Sally and Lee have been talking about this, but I haven't been able to see whether the professional development money in the ED budget is identified separately, is segmented apart, so that we can see how much that is, so that she can keep track of that and we can keep track of that.
Thank you for bringing that up, Carol. That was something I meant to do, and it slipped my mind, so thank you.
The generally, under professional development, it will make a difference if there's travel involved or not. And if there's travel involved, then it definitely becomes an issue that the board will decide whether that travel is approved or not. If it's online type of thing, that's a little different story. And I think that gets handled a little bit differently.
Well,
So,
I guess as a member of the ED committee, I'd like some clarity on how that's handled, because I would, she had talked to us about a few different opportunities, which sounded like good ones to us. And my question was, is it in your budget? So I guess if we can, is it possible for us to see that budget broken out that way? And I guess the question is, do we have, can we give her the okay, or does it need to come to the board, or does it need to go to you, Mike?
well, let's Sally and I look at the budget and make sure that the funding's there. It looks like this is all online stuff. So as long as it's the money is there, we should be okay to approve her to go ahead. And it can be.
So in other words, it does need to come to you.
Yeah, anytime that kind of money's spent. And then travel, we've always made it a board approval to travel. So
Right.
let's see what's in the budget and make sure the funding's there. Then, then there won't be any problem.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a couple of trainings that are coming up that need approval, I guess, that will be before your next meeting.
If the funding is, if the money is there for professional development, we're going to move ahead and sign up and do it. None of it, Lee, includes travel, does it?
No.
Then, that it makes it a whole lot easier to say, yes, she can do it.
Okay, but what I'm hearing is that is not the purview of the committee. It needs to come to you.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's reasonable, just to make sure that, especially this year, with the way we've been looking at things. And Sally and I will look at, make sure the funding's there for it, and if it's there, there won't be any question.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Lee? Okay, it looks like the assessor's up to bat. Cindy Brand.
Hi. Hi, good evening.
I always learn a lot from your, what you provide us.
Okay. Well, I don't have much to add to the monthly report, just the sales. I went down to the county and picked up the sales and they're still coming in. So which is good. They did these reports that I posted on the front of my report. These were reports that were coming in from the state as they were reviewing the exemptions, the star exemptions. And it just, like I said at the town board meeting, it's just been too many cooks in the kitchen and it's been a mess. So there's been things that have been going on. We're trying to straighten that out right now. And I don't know how much longer it's going to keep going like this, but there were a lot of problems. Not just, our town, but the other towns in the state. And that's pretty much it for now. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Where did we end up with the hotel?
Oh, I didn't hear anything. They were supposed to go to back on 9/11. That was supposed to be the hearing. I didn't hear anything
Okay.
yet. Yeah. They were
Is that
contesting the-
normal that you wouldn't hear anything yet?
What's that?
Is that normal that you wouldn't have heard anything yet?
Yeah, pretty much normal.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. Any other questions for Cindy?
Okay.
Okay, Chief.
Hello.
Oh, Jim, I had a question for Cindy.
Go ahead, Carol.
Sorry, I knew I did. Cindy, you mentioned in your report wanting to, about your office hours and
Yes.
adjusting them. I assume that's a town decision, right?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to say, I think the village board would be supportive of that. That sounds great.
Okay. That'd be great. Okay.
Carol?
Mhm.
And I think we had budgeted for her full-time anyway, so I think we're okay with that. So. Any other questions for Cindy? Okay, Jim.
Okay.
The only thing I wanted to add to my report was that the order for the body cameras has been placed. I was able to reduce the number of cameras from 10 down to 8 because the charger download station that comes will only hold 8. So it was kind of pointless to spend almost $2,000 to have 2 sit in a box. So reduce that down again, savings of almost $2,000. So that's a help. Also had a quick chance to meet with Marty and touch base with him, and just want to welcome him to the team. That's all I have.
Any questions for Jim? We'll note that there has been some considerable savings with the new vehicle in terms of fuel. And I think that we'll all agree that that's going in the right direction there. Okay, code enforcement. Jeff, how you doing?
Here.
Now that we have.
Too bad. I don't have anything. Go ahead.
You're kind of muted there. You're not muted. You're just breaking up.
Let me cancel my video. Is it better now?
Yes.
Yeah, usually I have to cancel my video. Yeah, I don't have anything to add to my report, but I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you might have.
Do you have questions for? Go ahead, Anna.
Hi, yeah, I noticed this was under town issues rather than village, but housing being something that's important and on our plates. You mentioned something about housing issues in Canton that you were working with, that you were working on and would need to continue working on. And I was wondering if you could give any more information about that.
I think these housing issues are not just in the town of Canton. I think they're county-wide. We have a lot of substandard housing that people are living in, and the ones that concern me the most are where we have children living in these places. And it's hard for me to get in to these places that may be overcrowded. And I don't want to go in there to try to displace people, but I would like to be able to get into them to make sure they're as safe as they could possibly be. And it's hard to do because a lot of people don't want to invite you in. And if nobody invites me in, then I can't recognize the problem and try to fix it. But this is something I've been dealing with since I took this job. And I guess I led a pretty sheltered life. When I worked for myself, I never saw these issues. And now that I'm in this job, I'm all over the town of Canton, and I see them more and more every day. And I've dealt with a school teacher and a caseworker on a few of them. But I think there's just more work to be done there for me. I think that's an important job for me, is to make sure that I can make as many of these residences as safe as we can. Although the perfect world, we'd be getting rid of them. These are houses that would be easily gotten rid of if I had a place to put the people that live there. So this is a huge problem, and I don't know how to solve it yet, but I'm going to work on it, and I'm going to put it more towards the top of my list of things to do, because I think it is important that we take care of the children of this town.
Thank you.
Is there any more questions about that, Anna? I don't know how to address it all, you know what I mean? Because it is such a complex problem.
It is definitely a complex problem, and I absolutely appreciate you addressing it in whatever ways are within your power.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, and we appreciate that you're partnering with the school and social workers too. So that's great.
Well, they're the heart of the well, they see it every day, where I don't, you know what I mean? But they do call me on occasions to go to places with them, and I, like I said, it's just something that I think I should move more to the top of my priority list.
Thank you for that.
Thanks, Jeff. Anything else for Jeff? Okay, we'll move on. Sally, the treasurer's report.
I don't really have anything too much to add. Welcome to Marty. We've been meeting daily, trying to upgrade his phone and computer, and it's been a struggle. Things are behind. But welcome, Marty. It's been a pleasure so far.
Thank you.
I have registered for the NICOM conference. I did and the mayor did. That starts tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that.
Any questions for Sally? Okay, next up is the I'm sorry, go ahead, Anna.
Yeah, Sally, I was just wondering about the utility audit. Do we know when we're going to hear back from those folks?
No, but I can double check on it. I'd be glad to do that.
Thank you.
Okay, the superintendent, Marty shared an email and it was forwarded on to everyone. Next month, we'll have it formatted a little bit differently after we get a chance to get Marty into the swing of things. As Sally said, there's 2 things we're working on upgrading. Number one, getting into the computer, because that's been a problem. But we're making progress, and he's learning his way around here, and you know, it's refreshing to see some of the things that he's noticing and bringing back to my attention. And ultimately, it all comes back to you as we get going on some of our you know, committees that Marty will be involved in. Marty, is there anything you'd like to talk about tonight, or update us on what you sent out? I'm sure there may be some questions from some.
Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Basically, I don't have really much. Everything was pretty much as of going into today. And like I said, basically what I have printed on there is right up to date. I'm sure there's going to be some questions because I have a lot of questions on still on this Judson Street project and the Minor Street project moving forward. So.
Any questions? I know Klaus had asked me earlier if he could share his report with the Complete Streets people, and I said, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, welcome aboard, Marty, and thanks for that update. We're very encouraged to see the progress on Judson Street and Minor Street, and I'll be in touch with you shortly. We'll get together.
Okay, thank you. And like I said, there's a
Sounds
lot
good.
of there's a lot of questions for the Judson Street project that
Yep.
I'm gonna need. So
Absolutely. We'll be in touch with you real soon.
okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Carol, go ahead.
Yeah, Marty, you mentioned fall leaf pickup and stuff like that. For some reason, in the past, I have been appointed the person who has periodically sent a little press release or a note out to the paper reminding of what the pickup schedule is and the pickup dates and stuff like that. So if you want me to do that, if you'll just shoot me information about the general schedule and dates, I'm happy to send something out. And I'm also happy to send you a draft of what I have been sending in the past. It's just quick and dirty, but it's a reminder of people of some of the rules,
Okay.
some of the things
Okay.
they want to follow.
What has been the rule of thumb on picking up brush?
In terms of what?
Days that the crews pick it up.
I can look up, Mike, I can't exactly remember. I have press releases.
I think it's
Kara
Tuesdays.
knows.
Begins
Eric,
right after,
Thursday, maybe?
I think, the holiday in October.
What is it, Kara? She's afraid to talk because of what's going on in her house.
No, they all left. It's usually the day after, it would start October 13th and go to about Veterans Day. And they usually pick up they follow a route and they usually pick up every single day. I mean, following the route. And they have to use, they have to put everything in the paper bags and make sure, what's the inch, Sally?
Yeah.
They have to make sure that the brush is manageable to pick up.
Marty, how about if I send you the note that I sent this time last year? And you can have a look at that because it would be the same, just the days off a little, like from what Kara said. And you can look at that and see if that makes sense or how you might want to adjust that.
Okay, yes. If you could do that, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, be happy to.
And also, just to let you know, I had a gentleman stop in Friday afternoon, and he wanted to know if he could stop and pick up the piles of bags of leaves on the side of the road at the curb because he wanted them for personal use. And I said, it sounds like a harmless thing, and him picking up the bags of leaves, but do we want to invite everybody just going up and down the road picking up the bags of leaves on the curb? That's to me, that's something that we need to discuss because I don't think a lot of people would feel comfortable with people pulling up at their house when it's dark out picking up bags of leaves.
I've had the same guy come around to my house picking up all the leaves year after year after year. He uses them for his animals for bedding. He's just come around and done it. So first I heard anybody ask him permission.
That would seem like something. Yeah, but I feel like that's not something. I think he should probably speak to the homeowner, or they can come pick them up. Wherever you take them. I don't know.
No, I think by the time they get to where they take them, you don't want people in there.
Yeah.
So, I'll get with you. My wife may know the guy that came around to grab ours. I wonder if it's the same. I'll ask you, Marty. I'll get with you tomorrow and
Okay, all right, thank you.
See if there's a name. That's, never had anybody ask permission to do that before. Anna, you had a question for Marty?
Oh, I was just going to say hello, and I didn't want to miss my opportunity to welcome you and to say that I certainly wasn't expecting a report after only a week on the job, but it was pleasant to see some, detailed communication anyhow. So thank you so much, and we're looking forward to working with you.
Thank you. But you too. Thank you.
Anything else for Marty? Okay. Now I need a motion to accept all department head reports.
So moved.
Anna?
Second.
Carol, thank you. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Moving on, committee reports. Are there any information that's not on the agenda that the committee would like to report on?
I have a couple.
Go ahead, Carol.
First, for recreation, as everybody knows, our director, Jim, we announced his resignation at the last meeting, and he's been gone now a couple weeks. Ken and Ryan are doing a great job, keeping things going there. They're covering everything well. Taylor Park is closed and buttoned up. The outdoor rink, they did some work on just cleaning up around it, not doing anything with the rink itself, but it was weeds and trash and stuff, and they've cleaned up all around that. The recreation committee is talking to a few different people about possible uses of that space, and I think that for the recreation committee is very eager to discuss how we move forward with the recreation program and recreation department. I think that will require a meeting of the joint boards, since that's a shared program and shared service. And then, as you know, the pavilion opening is on the agenda further down. So that's what I have for rec. I have a couple more, and then Beth can talk about golf. Communications and technology, we're working on plans to be able to do ongoing streaming once in-person meetings are possible again. So we're looking at equipment and technology and just the best ways to make that happen. Let's see, ED, economic development. The Economic Development Steering Committee is looking to add a few members to the committee. We've reached out to a few people. The consortium, the ED consortium, will be meeting on October 7th. And we continue to talk about issues of bandwidth and connectivity. There's a good series of webinars being presented that we're participating in. The issues that we face here in Canton are the same issues that people are experiencing really all over the state, and especially also in rural areas of the state like ours, but not just rural areas like ours. It's some of the data on connectivity is very optimistic compared to what really exists. So we're realizing it's hard for us to tackle that ourselves, but we're taking little bites of it. Sustainability committee has been sort of on hold during the pandemic, and we have just recently gotten going again. There's a plan. The Sustainability Day and Green Living Fair, as some of you may remember, they were supposed to have their event in the spring, and that was postponed to the fall. They're now again they're not going to be able to have an event this fall, but they're going to try to do the idea was, one of the ways to encourage sustainability is to vote for, elected officials at all levels who, are encouraging sustainability and cleaner, healthier, safer communities. So they're going to be working on a get out. It's all geared on get out the vote. In both in Canton and in Potsdam. And I guess to that point, I had a question for Jerry. about whether there's issues with this as a joint, a committee that's under the municipalities, whether, basic get out the vote efforts are appropriate for either for the committee itself or for members. I guess for my own self, I think I know I would need to be careful, but whether that's appropriate or where do we go to find that out?
I'll have to think about that and talk to you
Okay.
about that, Carol.
I appreciate that.
It doesn't strike me as being inappropriate in general, but I understand the specific concerns you're raising.
Jerry, I'll send you a little sort of draft flyer where we're talking about some of the things.
Would you do that?
The
Good.
language, yeah. And then you can just see what your thoughts are on that.
This will be from the committee, is that it?
Sustainability committee, yeah. And the programs, a lot of this stuff is the college's sustainability day and green living fairs. It's a combined effort of the 4 colleges. But the Canton Sustainability Committee has participated with them in the past and supported that in the past. And so everybody's coming up with different GOTV activities. We had some ideas, but wanted to be sure that that we are, in bounds on that.
Do you have a flyer in place already?
No.
Okay.
No, we're just working on the plans for it. That's why I wanted to check with you
Okay.
first.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, that's it. So that's what I have.
Any other committees to report?
Yeah, I've got a few things for golf. We met with the golf committee, and Kevin was happy in terms of this season ending on a high note. He was able to have host a few tournaments. As we all know, the season is very different than typical. He was really pleased with the number of actual kids who participated, and he sees that that's a good opportunity to continue that trend for next year. He did talk to us about needing to re-up some the golf carts and the contracts there, and he's going to explore some options and present those to us in the coming weeks. And they will be done by the middle to the end of October, pending weather. In terms of the concession side, I think that Kevin was very supportive, which was great. He said that he heard lots of compliments. I think Karen and Raisin, had some learning curves, and they were, pleased to be out there. But they did learn when the busy times were and when the slower times were, and, would like to talk to us in the future about adjusting sometimes to make it most feasible for them. But for the most part, I think that they were pleased with the experience, and we're happy to have had the opportunity to be out there in that space. So I think in terms of that, on that front, all is well. So Carol, did I miss anything?
I think you got it.
Okay.
Mike?
Yes.
Could I interrupt for just 1 second, please? If we could ask who the phone number 315-386-1447 is, so we can put your name on the screen in the meeting. Uh-huh. All right, then. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, where are we here? Anything else on committees? Being none, communications and information. I don't have anything to share unless any of you do. I did get a brief note that wasn't addressed to the board, but it was a thank you for a couple of yards of blacktop that went down on the basketball court at the bend in the river park. It made somebody very happy. So, Larry Casey plays down there every morning at sunrise. And
It's a beautiful spot.
he was pretty pleased. He came in, and within a day or two, his timing was excellent. Let's put it that way. So,
great.
okay, old business. just an update on Minor and Judson Street. I know Marty has been involved in the paving of Minor and been looking over the Judson Street projects. I don't know if there's anything more to share right now, Marty. I know we're looking at the tabletop crossings. They're not going to happen this fall, but he's coming up with a plan to do them in the spring.
Yes, as far as like Minor Street, I reached out to the county highway, and if the weather holds, we're looking like Thursday, possibly doing painting the stripes on Minor, Judson Park, and Sullivan Drive. As far as, like you said, the tabletop or the I call them the speed tables, we're looking at, because those are pretty in depth, and it's looking like there's probably going to be 3 of them now. So that's a project that we'll have to tackle in the spring, and maybe look at some different options there, because I know they had where you could do brick pavers, or you could actually just build up with blacktop and then paint a crosswalk in it. So there's going to be some options. Obviously, your price is going to probably have a bearing on which direction you go, but that's going to be something that we'll have this winter to look at and decide on. So.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions about those 2 roads? We really did get behind this year with COVID and been playing catch up all year. So next item was a quick update on ethics. I'm not sure if we're anywhere further ahead on that right now or not. Carol?
I think that I think that's going to be a topic for when we have our joint meeting. The village has asked 2 people, and I actually see, I think Katie was on the call. Katie Halloran Murphy and Ryan Ames have both agreed to represent or to be the village designees for that. The town will come up with 2, and then we'll need to come up with one that we agree on between us. And then I think Jerry and Eric are going to work with the boards to get them started on sort of protocols and procedures. So we need to kick that can a little faster, a little harder.
Okay. Thanks, Carol. Next item is an update on the Executive Order 203. Beth, you have anything you can bring us up to date on? You or Anna?
Yes, we were a little bit delayed in the timeline that we originally came up with. It was ambitious and we knew that, but given some dynamics with COVID and opening up the colleges and the school districts, it got a little delayed for a number of reasons. So we have readjusted the timeline, and we are constituting the advisory group right now, and have had some success there. And we are going to plan to meet on Wednesday, September 30th, for our first meeting. So we're still working on, completely constituting the group, and we'll be able to give updates at the next meeting.
Will that be a Zoom meeting?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Anna, anything? No, okay. Next item was, we had discussed briefly last month, updating village codes 223-2 and -3. Have that gotten any traction, or we gotten any further on that?
Not yet. We have to do, there's some case law that I have to check on for that.
You want me to leave this on the agenda for?
Please do for
month?
next meeting, yes.
Okay. And the last item under old business was a code review update. I know there's been some work going on behind the scenes. I think there's a Zoom meeting planned coming up, Jerry?
We haven't chosen the date yet. We've got some dates out there. Monica and I sat down and I think we've made good progress so far on the draft. just in general, the draft includes incorporating within the zoning, the new zoning chapter, provisions for signage and subdivision review. We're talking about moving subdivision review into the planning board purview. A great expansion on the definitions. We're pretty, I think we're at a point where Monica feels, as do I, that we can bring this probably in front of the committee. There was some discussion about whether or not we want to sit down just with maybe the mayor and Carol and Lee first, just to go over it and see what tweaks you might suggest first before it gets to the committee stage. But that would be up to you how you want to handle it. I think Monica's okay with going right to the committee if that's where you feel you want to be. And I have to try to do is at the committee level, have Monica's involvement be by Zoom again, just to save some cost and convenience for her, not having to come up all this way.
Well, I know the dates that were out, Jerry. Carol and I talked about it, and I know Carol's anxious to get it in front of a larger group, as am I. I would like to see where we're at before we do that, and if we can agree just to have one of those dates, we have a meeting to look at it, and then let's move ahead.
Okay, Monica was making some more modifications based on our discussions Friday. I can find out from her where she is, and if she's comfortable having the draft out there for us to review.
Yeah, I think we'd be much better off once we have this final, we get to a good spot where we're comfortable. Let's get it out in front of people. Because those comments are going to be important. I think Carol agrees. She's shaking her head, yes.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I'd be happy, very happy to get Lee in on the conversation as soon as possible. And it strikes me, I'm not going to pull that email up, but I'm not sure Lee was on the email from Jerry or Monica that had dates in that. So we should be sure, if we are going to have a preliminary meeting with the 5 of us, that Lee gets that onto her.
I'll get that email right out to Lee. I'll make sure she has those dates.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. Moving forward, new business. First item is authorized payment of vouchers and transfer of funds. I need a motion for that.
So moved.
Anna, second.
Second.
Beth, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Klaus, thank you for doing bills again.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, the next item was to discuss the sales tax proposal by Ogdensburg Mayor that I sent out to you. I put it on the agenda just for general conversation. You all received the documents and what Ogdensburg's proposal is. I think they've been to the county with it. I don't think they got any traction out of the county yet, but maybe, any thoughts from the board?
I do, and one of the reasons I wanted to have this on the agenda is that, this is a conversation that is, going to need to come to a head because they're going to get to the end of their 10-year limit on the past ruling. And I would really like to be sure that the legislature, and in particular our legislator, Danny Fay, is really advocating for what's fair here for everybody. The villages and the towns don't get a voice in this. It's a conversation that happens between the county and the city of Ogdensburg. And it puts the city of Ogdensburg in a really tough position of having to sort of fight both ends against the middle, fight for themselves, or advocate for themselves, I should say, without doing that at sort of the expense or detriment of the villages and towns. So I would really, I guess what I want to say is that I, as a member of the village board, I would like to encourage our county legislators to get in and be serious about this and try to come up with a fair and equitable policy or plan that works for the villages and the towns and for the city of Ogdensburg and for the county, that nobody gets put over the barrel on that one.
Yeah,
I guess part of it is I want them to pay attention when they get, I heard Dan Fay recently say, yeah, that's not going to get any attention to a particular proposal. I just think rather than discarding every proposal out of hand, I think proposals need to be looked at and considered. We got to find a way.
well, I agree, and I know this has been discussed for the past 2 years. They put it off another year because of the circumstances. The proposal that Ogdensburg has given the county is certainly benefits each and every one of us, towns, villages, and the city, and really doesn't benefit the county. So it's kind of hard for me to see how that's going to move forward. And if they can't come to some agreement amongst themselves, it's going to be, we're all going to end up losing.
But the towns and the villages and the city are in the county. They can't lose sight of that.
Well, absolutely. And that's been the biggest problem. They're all trying to figure out who's going to, how to split this up. The one option that the city has is that they can go their own way and leave us out hanging. And then we're at the mercy of the county. So the one thing that the city has done for us in the past is, if we've all worked together and stuck together, we've all benefited in a rather equal way. I don't think that's where the county wants to be right now. Along with that, and part of this discussion was that the next item was to consider changing our board meeting to a different night so that our county representative could come and visit us at our meeting. Our meetings fall on Mondays. That's when everything happens at the county level. Their committee meetings and their regular meetings on a Monday. So we don't get the advantage of seeing our representative here so that we can ask them questions. So, wrapped in all of that is a discussion about, you want to change our board meetings for meetings coming up? That's very specific. Is this something you would like to consider doing, going forward once we have our reorganizational meeting in December?
Is there anything stopping us from changing it, even for next month, if we wanted to adjust
No,
midstream? Okay.
we can change a meeting at will. It has to be publicized and properly noticed. But we can do that. And we can invite who we want. Anna?
I would support moving our meeting to a different day so that our legislator could attend our meetings and that we could have conversation. Because I guess I want to reiterate something that support something that Carol said a minute ago in the previous point, which is that we want to make sure we're being advocated for. And in order to make sure of that, we need to have a forum, to have a discussion, and to be able to advocate for ourselves to our legislators so that we can have some back and forth conversation. And that isn't possible. And even as I try, I'm not able to attend all of the legislator meetings to even learn what is going on because, well, obviously we're here, right? So I would definitely support moving to another night.
I agree with that as well.
How would Tuesday be if we moved the October meeting to Tuesday at 6:30?
Tuesdays are a little difficult for me, but I think we can make it work.
Or Wednesday? Does Wednesday work for folks?
Either one of those works for me.
I would prefer Wednesdays.
Mm-hmm.
And Wednesdays would be a little bit better for me.
Mm-hmm.
I can make that work.
Yeah, how about that for October? And then
How does well, I mean, I think if we're going to change it, Klaus, why not make that it's their meetings are going to keep being on Mondays.
Right.
That's true.
Could I ask Sally and Kara, does that work for you guys? Any better than anything else?
Wednesdays really are not, it would be tight for me. I mean, I can be there, but I have a previous obligation on Wednesdays until 5:30.
Okay.
So it's possible, but it makes it tight for me.
Are Tuesdays better?
Tuesday would be better for me.
Kara?
Same. I'm on 2 other boards and we usually meet Wednesdays. I will make anything work.
How about Tuesdays for next month?
Could we either make that decision or possibly we could have this conversation, do a like a doodle kind of a thing just to see, because I'd like to be sure we're hearing from, we're not, also maybe even the rest of the staff. People I think have Mondays, this third Monday set, but this should work for all this staff, but I think it is an important change to make. So I'd be happy to do a doodle to all the directors and the staff that are involved in the meetings. How does that sound?
That's a great idea.
I appreciate that, Carol. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, anybody have anything to add to this?
No, thank you for putting that on the agenda.
Yeah, it's an important conversation to have. Or
Yeah,
continue
well,
to have.
could be.
Okay, the next item, I couldn't send you anything. The item listed is St. Lawrence County and the state snow and ice contract. We do this every year. And the contract doesn't change every year. But what they want to do this year was change it to a 5-year agreement. So we're not coming back every year to do this. I told the county of our willingness to do a 5-year contract, but they did not get it to me yet. So I don't know that we can take any action on that tonight until I get the contract and get it out to you. Marty, you don't see any great rush to get that pre-approved, do you? We can wait until next month.
I think the only one that was really had a rush on it, I think, was the administrator in the office over at Highway, because she wanted to get the contracts made up and sent out and get them signed. Other than that, no, unless she reaches out beforehand, but by the end of the week or next week, I'm sure that email will go to you. I know I got the same email as you did, Mike. So, well, if it's something that you need to reach back out to the board, I guess.
Okay. I'll see if there's a deadline associated with it when we get it, so.
Okay.
I had hoped to have that for tonight, but it just never came, so. Okay, the next item on the agenda is discuss a change order request for village water and sewer expansion. I provided you with the documentation. I ran into some problems over there on the project, and they had to start a second drill and a second pathway, and they ran into some different type of rock that was not identified in our test boring, because they ended up going deeper, and the test borings didn't go as deep as that as the rock that they found. Aaron was supposed to talk to the drilling, well, he was talking to the Manford Construction, and the letter that you got was from Manford Construction. And they were going to talk to the driller Friday and today. They didn't get anything back from them to see if they could sharpen the pencil any sharper. But right now, what you have in front of you is an additional cost to complete is about $150,000. Still within our budget as we had outlined, and they have a considerable amount of work done already on this project. They extended the water line on both ends and ready to pressure test and do some other things. We just got to get that line across the river. They made it almost all the way until they ran into a fracture, and rock dropped down. They lost one of the drill heads. So they've gone, as you can see in this letter, to a different type of drill bit. Going to cost them more to do it. It's going to take a little bit longer to get through there, but I still think we need to be committed to getting it crossed. So
Never a dull moment.
no, you keep your fingers crossed on these things because you don't know what you're going to run into. You can't see it, you can't touch it and feel it. So you're drilling blindly. But as I said, this is still within our budget, but I believe the board needs to approve the additional expense. As I said in my email to you, one of our grants is based on a percentage of the total. So as the expense goes up, the reimbursement changes some. So it won't be in exactly 150,000, but one of those grants will help cover some of it. Not all of it, but some of it.
I make a motion that we approve the added expense to keep the project moving forward.
I second that.
Second, Beth, or?
Either one.
Okay.
Charles said it too.
Take your pick.
Beth. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? I will let you know what the final number is, just so you know. I had expected Aaron to get back to me. He tried to get back to me today, but that didn't work. So, at any rate, thank you. We're moving forward. Next item is Chamber of Commerce contract. I was asked to put on the agenda discussion about Chamber of Commerce contract, and so it's on there.
Thanks, Mike.
I think a couple of our board members have been working with economic development and so forth, and that's why we're where we're at.
Yeah, just so you know, Ben Dixon is here from the chamber, and Carol Spadassini, and I see that John Gray is here as well.
So
hi.
Oh, go ahead.
This is Carol Spadassini. I'm the current president of the Canton Chamber. I know I've been in conversation with Carol a couple times. I know money's tight all over, and we're here to plead our case for what we do for the village. At this point, I think I'd turn it right over to Ben.
Ben?
Hey there, everyone. How you doing? All right. Good to see so many familiar names and faces this evening. Anna, was it you who was trying to jump in with something?
Go right ahead, Ben.
Okay. Thanks. So as you all know, so this is Ben Dixon, resident of Canton, wearer of many hats. As you all know, I do work with many of you in various capacities. I wear a lot of hats, so please note that this evening I am taking off my St. Lawrence County Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors hat. I am taking off my Canton Economic Development Steering Committee hat, etc. And I am going to do the best I can to represent the Canton Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors and try to speak on their behalf. That's what I feel I need to do in this case, given the many roles I play in our community. It is a little strange. But so I guess there's a number of things I'd put out there as things to consider as you are looking at your budgets and considering the funding on this contract. And also note that, well, I guess I would start with a question as to what your timeline for the budget development is. The reason why I ask is because as we move forward here in the coming weeks and months, we're really, I think, diving into a phase of strategic planning in the Canton Chamber Board. This is driven by a few things. One, obviously, is the COVID pandemic that we have been living in for the past 6+ months and its impact on our local economy. Another factor is, the chamber integration study that is happening, and just a number of other factors. So we're certainly looking at, I think we're at a place now, based on our board conversations, that we are, considering what we have been doing for the members and Canton businesses, and what we should be doing going forward into the year ahead, given the challenges and limitations that are put upon us by COVID and what that means for us. So there is that to consider, as you're going forward with your budgeting process. I'm sure the Canton Chamber Board would be happy to work with you and continue any discussions. So trying to speak for the Chamber Board, and in recognition that COVID and the economic downturn that we've faced has kind of messed everything up. We're doing a number of things that you should be aware of. We are looking to get out a survey and gather feedback from our member businesses and business owners in Canton as to what we should be doing to bring the most value to our businesses. This could lead to considering some new activities. Carol, I think, has mentioned to you her interest in reestablishing business mixers, for instance. For activities, and I also believe that Carol may have already sent you sort of a bullet list of activities that the Chamber has engaged in over the last year. So I'm seeing nodding heads among the board members. Good.
Yeah, thank you. We received that. Thank you.
Okay, great. So for those activities that haven't been disrupted by COVID due to, various safety protocols that have to, and regulations that have to happen, we're going to continue those activities. I think as we move forward, I think the events are the most commonly impacted. Very difficult to hold events given the limitations that are set upon us by the state and by public health, county public health, for good reason, obviously. But we're going to try to consider how we can deliver some of those things in an alternative format that's still beneficial to businesses. For instance, we're thinking about what we could do. Obviously, we can't have the annual dinner that pulls in, in-person attendance of, well over 150 people, and certainly in less than 6 foot spacing. So, we're trying to think about some kind of other virtual or alternative ways to deliver some kind of event that celebrates Canton and its resilience during the COVID period. More immediate, Halloween is coming. We're all used to Phantoms in the Park. We can't do that, obviously, because of the numbers involved, but maybe we're actually talking to public health about whether we could do some kind of like door-to-door, business-to-business trick-or-treating event, something that gets people in the doors of the businesses that is still dispersed enough to not be a threat. So with all those things in mind, I would also note that we are participating in the chamber integration study, as you are aware, which would, is a study where we consider integrating the various chambers, local chambers across the county under one umbrella organization. So that would pull together, the county chamber with Canton Chamber, and other chambers around the county, Ogdensburg, Messina, etc. That is something that I think our board can see some significant benefits to. There's obviously some efficiencies to be gained there, and maybe some maximization of skills and talents and marketing, etc. There's certainly some questions still to be answered in that process. And so we don't know at this point where that's going to go. But regardless, even if we see that those benefits do suggest that we move forward with an integration, we still are faced with a situation where the businesses downtown and in the town and village of Canton, you know, COVID is still with us. It's still impacting our businesses. For instance, our students at the universities will be going home at Thanksgiving. That gives the businesses a very short window of time to take advantage of that market. And so we still need to be working with those businesses. They still need the support of the Canton Chamber, as well as you know, the great work that Lee is doing in the Economic and Community Development Office going forward. So that's, you know, something to consider as well, is just kind of this place and time. We have a kind of transitional year right here that we're currently facing. So all that said, I think the board, the Canton Chamber Board, is prepared to work with you and understand kind of what your interests are. I mean, I know you want to realize a return on your investment, obviously. You want to know that the services that you are providing support for are fulfilled, and I think the Canton Chamber Board, from what I have seen in our monthly meetings, is prepared to work with you and continue discussions, and would certainly appreciate the continued support going forward. So all that is obviously in recognition that we only have a half-time FTE to do the on-the-ground work that we do day in and day out. But nonetheless, happy to work with you and work with our businesses as we move forward. So there you go. Those are some of the things I thought maybe that would help set a little context for where we are in these determinations as you think about your contract with the Canton Chamber. I obviously do that. I hope I have properly represented the Canton Chamber Board and their opinions and position in this whole thing. And there you have it. I guess Carol and I are here for any questions you may have.
Thanks, Ben. Questions for Ben or Carol?
I will note that we would also be very happy to entertain village members at our next board meeting, which is coming up. If you'll give me just a second, I'll tell you. That will be, looks like the 7th of October. So if anybody would like to join us at that board meeting, we actually discussed that over email. We'd love to have you join us.
Anna, it looked like you were, go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks, Ben, and thanks, Carol and John, for being here, and Ben for sharing. I think I'm a member of the Economic Development Committee, and as such, you know, the charge is exactly what you said, to my mind, which is to consider ROI, and it's ROI for the taxpayer, right? So, you know, and so with that lens in mind, I have to say that I hear you with, you know, speaking about this being, you know, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Things definitely have not been at all what anybody expected. That doesn't seem to be changing anytime soon, you know, so on and so forth. Like, you know, I definitely recognize that. My concerns are, I think, as you are, you know, perhaps foreshadowing here, are, you know, what is going to take the place of the events, which many in our community absolutely, look forward to, and these are important, events for our community, but that aren't going to be able to be done. And what in light of COVID and in light of the unpredictability of our situations, what is the chamber doing to support our businesses? And to be perfectly honest, in the documents that we have received, I'm not sure I know the answer to that. And as such, as somebody who needs to be able to justify where the taxpayers' money is going, I don't have all of the answers that I need. And it sounds a little bit to me like you all don't maybe have the answers that you need yet, which is like, that may be. Like, I think we're all looking for answers in a variety of different places, but that does sort of leave us there. And so I want to, put it out there that is where my concerns lie.
Excellent. I will first say that I will, any questions or feedback that you present here, I know Carol and I will take that back to our board for response. Like I said, I'm here wearing only my Canton Chamber board hat, and want to represent them to the best of my ability there. So we'll certainly take any concerns and questions you have back to the board for response. Also, that does lead me back to my question that I first posed, and I'm sorry I blew right past it, but as to what your timeline for budget preparation and finalization is.
Well, I can speak to that, Ben, right before I ask my questions. As I think probably and we got a letter from you or from your director, this is in the budget. The chamber is budgeted for this year.
Right.
That said, I think what we need to decide is, what portion of that allotted amount can we afford to pay given, the activities we've seen over the last 6 months and what we understand now is anticipated. During the period of COVID, understandably, things were helter-skelter. Most of your businesses were running double time, your chamber members. There was not a lot. Well, I would go so far as to say there wasn't any activity coming from the chamber at that time. Meanwhile, our Community and Economic Development Office was churning stuff out. So does it really make sense for us to be spending the allotted amount for that full amount of time when in fact, it didn't feel to us like things were happening? I appreciate very much the ideas you have going forward. I do have some questions about those, but I guess would be the answer to that question, Ben, is our budget's done. We've got a budget. So it's a question of us deciding how to allocate what's in the budget.
So basically what my understanding here is, decision on, you had it in the budget based on what has been delivered, what amount of that budgeted amount should be put forward to the chamber in response to activity.
Right. Well, I think that we're
delivery on a scope of work.
We're going to talk about I have a few more questions, and I think then we can decide tonight whether we're ready to make a decision about that expenditure or whether it'll be next time. I guess that's part of this conversation.
Okay.
I do have a few more questions.
Great.
Based on what you said. Can you tell me the survey that you talked about at the very beginning, seeking feedback from business members and all? Can you tell me who's developing that survey and when you plan to get that out?
That is being developed by a combination of the director of the chamber, Tammy Mackin, as well as the board of directors. She has done a first draft and delivered that to the board, who is considering, edits to the survey and finalizing what questions would provide us with the best feedback that we can utilize. So as far as timeline, I think that will be going out very soon. As I said, there's a draft already on consideration by the board, so I would expect that will go out in the really immediate future.
You referred to the bullet list of actions. The report that we got was great, and it was a lot of the activities that we're familiar with.
Yep.
But not that were done. You said activities that were done in the last year. Many or most of them weren't done in the
Okay.
last year.
This is probably
and
our
some of, but
probably
even some
a
that weren't.
usual, right.
But stomp and things like that haven't been done in a couple years, even though
Okay.
they're still on that list. But you did refer also to some of the activities you have that haven't been disrupted. And can you talk a little bit about things that you've had going on that have not been disrupted by COVID and that have been going forward?
Let me just call up for a second that, if you don't mind, I'll call up the kind of list of activities. Some of our Winterfest activities were such as the, I've got it now, the kayak raffle and the holiday giveaway, and some of those things continued. Obviously, most of our events were had to be waylaid at this point in time. We did provide a sexual harassment training to members. That was a New York State requirement that did receive some good utilization and help help businesses, members to meet that requirement. Active shooter training was outreach. That was, I believe, if I'm correct, this guy, Alan Malkin, provided that to, I was hoping I'd get a couple smiles out of that at least anyway. So, and that was outreached. The storefront contest was quite popular. Where we
Ben, can I just,
yeah.
we're talking about things disrupted, things that weren't disrupted by COVID. I believe that's what you were talking about. You said that talked about the activities that weren't disrupted. So did you mean, by that you meant things that were just before March 15th?
Oh, I just meant things that, like, for instance, things outside of events that could not be held because, obviously a lot of things we do are events that bring together groups of people, and we obviously couldn't have those kind of congregations of people given the public health and safety requirements. And so I was saying, anything that wasn't disrupted by those kind of limitations obviously would continue to happen. My apologies if I was not clear on that.
I think a lot of these things we've asked before. I don't want to take too much more time.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about training and assistance to members, and I wondered, I'm not aware of any of that has happened like this year,
Mm-hmm.
this calendar year. Are there things that I'm not aware of?
Now, I'll have to caveat that my sense of time has gone into a blender since in the past year. So if my sense of timing is off, I would have to go and confirm that. But I believe we did the sexual harassment training this year to assess members. And if my memory is correct, I think the other training we did was the active shooter training that we outreached. That was not actually our event per se, but we got it available out to our members. And as we go forward, if I'm hoping that we will actually, I know some of the questions on our survey were about training, and I hope that we get some good suggestions on additional trainings we could provide. I think we want to provide that which is, needed by our membership.
Well, I guess what I would like to say about this is, as well, we've been discouraged by what we see as the support that the chamber has provided, especially during COVID. But the truth is, we want the chamber to succeed. We want this to work. We want very much to work to support you. We want for our economic development office to be able to work hand in hand. We invited, for example, we invited your director, Tammy, to serve on the marketing subcommittee, and we haven't heard back. So I think that what we want to be able to do is we want to support you. We want to work together on this. We want to support the trainings. We want our businesses to get the assistance. I'd like to think that moving forward, we'll see more programs of substance. I will say that for this year, for the amount of money we had budgeted for this year, I could not see in good conscience to the what Anna talked about, the return on investment. I don't think for our taxpayer dollars, I would feel prepared to make the full payment to the chamber this year. I don't know whether, Mike, whether you have in mind discussing this tonight or whether we put this on the agenda for next month. I would like to continue funding you. I would like the village and town to be getting their money's worth out of the chamber and for there to be robust programs happening there. And when we see them, we'll fund them. Otherwise, we need to put taxpayer dollars to work places where there is stuff getting done.
Thank you, Carol, for that feedback. I'm taking notes to take back to the Canton Chamber about this. I'm sure Carol's probably got her pen going as well. So
I do. John, do you have any comments? I thought John Gray, might you have any comments?
I'll note that with John not jumping in, I'll note John, I think wanted to abstain from much commentary on this subject matter given his other relationships with the village and town.
Okay. Well,
I apologize. I couldn't find the unmute button here, but Ben is absolutely right. I'm just here to observe. I have some conflicts of interest in my opinion, and I don't want to be part of the conversation.
Okay, thanks.
okay. Carol, you asked about funding, if you wanted to try to make a decision tonight, if you wanted to, see what maybe Ben can bring back to us, and wait until next month. It's okay with me either way.
I'm prepared to make a decision or wait. I think, our decision is not based on what's coming ahead. It's based on the last, we're in month 9 of the year. I think that, I guess I'd be interested to hear where Beth and Klaus are, and also, other thoughts from others.
Okay, Ben, you had your hand
Yeah,
up.
just a question, just a clarification. What I'm trying to remember, I have so many fiscal years in my head that starts to blur together. What is your fiscal year again?
Our fiscal year begins June 1 and ends,
Okay, thank you.
The end of May.
Great, thank you very much.
And we're about 180 degrees off of what the town does. So
Okay.
the town's working on their budget now. Takes effect the first of the year.
Okay, thank you. That and that fiscal year doesn't line up with the umpteen hundred other
No.
organizations I'm involved with. So,
God forbid.
so thank you for the clarification.
Anybody else want to jump in here?
Yeah, I appreciate the conversation and the different perspectives. I would love to have a little bit of time to figure out, if we do not fully fund, what that percentage looks like and that kind of thing. So I think that I'd like to have some time to evaluate and to see where we are in terms of what we're thinking in terms of percentages.
If we're going to put this decision off, sorry, Klaus, I would just say I would be interested then to hear more discussion about integration.
Okay.
If we're talking about it in light of, the fiscal year we've just come through and the one we're going into, I'd be interested in hearing more about that too. Sorry, Ben.
That's fine. So the question here, are you deciding on payment for activities happening during the period of 6/1/19 to 5/30/20, or for the fiscal year that we're in currently?
We're talking the fiscal year we're in currently. We're only a
Okay.
few months in.
Okay, excellent. That's
Um,
good.
You know, last fiscal year we funded.
Funded,
fully.
right? Okay, good. The only update I can tell you, a couple things on the integration. One is that, and so maybe this is better for Carol to respond to. Carol, our advisory board representatives to the integration study are Carol and John Gray and Derek Hitu. So it's probably not, it's probably better for them to respond to that question if that's something you would like discussed at this point in time. I will say that process is at a point where 3 models of integration are being considered at this point in time. They have been presented by the consultants for the study. 3 models have been chosen. The advisory group that is doing the study and speaking to the study is trying to decide which of those models would be the best fit for St. Lawrence County or some hybridization thereof. And so the next steps would in that group would be to decide which model and aspects of the models they want to pursue further. And at that point, they would, you know, drill down into that model, looking at what the implementation of that model would be in terms of, you know, financials and, you know, legal aspects of integration, et cetera. So
what's your
that's what
timeline
I
on
can
that?
provide at this point.
What's the timeline on that?
Carol, I'm going to defer to you on that one.
I mean, I don't believe they are thinking they would make any decision before the end of the year. We have a meeting this Wednesday.
Okay.
The meetings are every 2 weeks we meet. There are 3 members from the St. Lawrence County Chamber, 3 members from Messina, Ogdensburg, and Canton. And this Kathy Height is she keeps us organized, keeps us moving. I saw an email today. Hopefully each chamber was going to have their, like a P&L statement in for this week, but apparently that did not happen for a couple of them. So, because we do need to know where we are, you know, economically in it. In other words, and John, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but, you know, one chamber can't really pick up the financial burdens of another. And in that respect, Canton is definitely in the best place versus Ogdensburg and Messina. So that's, you know, we're in discussion on all that, but our next meeting is this Wednesday. I think it's in the afternoon.
I guess the one thing I would share there regarding that committee is that we have the Messina Chamber who's out of business and they're basically bankrupt. They don't have any staff, they don't have any money. And we have Canton at the other end of the spectrum where we're paying our bills. And we have Ogdensburg in the middle of the two. So there's a lot of questions about what happens to all the liabilities that Messina has. For instance, if we were to merge, do we take Canton's money and pay Messina's bills? So that's a lot of the questions that have to be answered before we can move forward here.
So I don't know if that provides kind of a sense of timeline. I would assume the next meeting of that advisory board would be discussion of which model is most appropriate to drill down into. You know, obviously, Mr. Gray's, the concerns Mr. Gray raised probably, you know, would come pursuant to deciding on a model, because you really can't answer all those questions until you have a model that you can drill down into and understand the financial and legal and structural implications of such a model.
And is it only Canton, Ogdensburg, and Messina?
At this point,
Right.
yes.
Potsdam has
Right now, yes.
Potsdam has made a conscious decision not to participate, as has Waddington. So it is just Messina, Canton, and Ogdensburg.
Do you know why?
They just don't want to participate. They have some of the same concerns, I think, that some of us in Canton have, is
Okay.
they have resources and they don't necessarily want their resources going to subsidize a chamber that is in significant financial difficulty.
Sure. Fair enough. That's why I asked. Thank you.
Okay,
I think this is good discussion, Mike. I'd like to just table this for now so that we can talk among ourselves a little bit more. And I think maybe get a little bit more feedback
well,
from this group.
I'll put it on the agenda for next month. And if, you and Anna can come back with a recommendation based on input you've gotten, or you just want to discuss it as a group and then make a recommendation, that's fine.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Anna?
Yeah.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Carol.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, briefly, the Canton Cares project. I was asked to put that on. I think that's been going along well.
We can make
That's-
that very brief. I think it was a great initiative from the village we had signs and flyers, wrote signs that were placed all around the town reminding people to wear their masks and be safely distant. Thanks to Lee and Jenny for distributing those around, going door to door to the businesses and talking with them and putting them up and going around the community and planting the signs sort of near and with the IDA ones, reminding people to shop in our communities with their masks on. We have 6 banners that have been placed, one on the municipal building and the others at various entrances that mirrored the message of masks and social distance and also anti-racism. And a huge thank you to Dave Reagan for getting those up really quickly and well for us. So I really am proud of that. I think it was a good thing for us to do, and I think we've gotten a lot of good response.
I was really pleased with how the signs looked. So they really came out well. Was there any consideration of any further purchases, or are we okay for now?
Seemed Lee's there. In conversation with Lee, it felt like we had pretty good coverage. Didn't you think, Lee?
Yes, and I have the capability of printing more of the window signs if needed. So yeah, we can, if any more are needed, we can do that in-house. We put it out on our newsletter to our audience and in my report as well. If anyone needs any more or anything, we're happy to print more off in our office.
Okay, thank you.
I think for the yard signs, Mike, there's always the balance of also trashing up every place, and especially with all the political signs now, there are a lot. And I think we come off of the political season and it's going to get into snow season. So I think the impact was good when at the time. I think we're probably good for now.
Okay, very good. Well, then last on our list is the pavilion and opening plans. So who from the rec committee would like to jump right in with both feet?
Okay, I
Beth,
would just
Carol?
like to say that Beth and I are here from the rec committee, as are Tim Danahy and Karen Blackburn. This is as everybody knows, rec is a shared service and shared responsibility, shared resource. I guess I would just say we've thought a lot about this. We've talked a lot about this. There's been great discussion. The various stakeholders of at the Recreation Pavilion have been very involved in conversations about the safety and the wisdom and the prudence of opening the pavilion. And so I guess I'll just start by saying the committee made a recommendation to the 2 boards that we, with safety protocols in place by both the Recreation Department and the stakeholder groups that we thought we could go ahead with that. I will say from my perspective, it is a decision I have a lot of ambivalence about. I have a lot of ambivalence about a lot of things happening during the time of COVID. It's scary. There's big steps that need to be taken in a time of real uncertainty. And so I guess I'll let the others maybe speak up, and then we can take questions about our recommendation and about the protocols we have in place. So I guess Beth or Tim or Karen, I'd invite you guys to add in anything you have to add.
I think we've worked really well together as a team, and I've appreciated not only the committee, but really truly having community partners who are the biggest user groups of the pavilion. They have informed us of what their plans need to be by state and national organizations that they're part of. They're taking this really seriously. I think that kids are really eager to be able to utilize the facility, and just having kids myself and having them go back to school, kids and parents and families are willing to follow rules so that they can utilize and make things work. So I am really confident in our partners and in our ability to implement and enforce the rules and regulations that we've come up with, and I think that they're really well thought out.
I'll jump in. Sure. Thanks, Mayor. It's obviously not an easy decision. If it was, we wouldn't be talking about it here. We'd be talking about something else and moving on to the next order of business. I know a number of our stakeholders are on the call, and I want to thank them for their participation last week. And I was really encouraged by the thoughtfulness, like Beth said, that they put into it. We need to consider the impacts of what we do. Like if we delay or decide not to proceed with any kind of ice season, there's going to be an impact on that. And the impact's going to be that some of the participants in these programs are going to go choose to play in neighboring communities, which adds, and they're able to do that. That's within the realm of what is allowed. But that adds, a degree of additional risk to us as a community to have that crossover that could be taking place. The travel, additional travel taking place in the winter months when you're on roads when you'd rather not be traveling long ways. So is there a chance that we start down the road of ice and something, the public health situation changes and we need to close down? Sure. I would rather err on the side of optimism here. I guess that's not the word. I'd rather be optimistic here. I'm confident that we can pull it off, that our stakeholders and their partners can pull it off. We need to, it's going to be easy, like we did in March. Like in a lot of ways, it was incredibly difficult to say we need to close the building, right? Because we know the Figure Skating Club was just about to wrap up their season with their show, and we closed the building, 3 or 4 days before that was going to happen. And that's incredibly difficult to do that, knowing the impact it has on those participants. At the same time, it was incredibly easy for us to make that decision to close because everything was closing. We didn't have a lot of choice. So if we have to make that decision again, we can do that. It's not going to be easy to say, okay, we're going to make ice. Now everybody pour into the building and resume your seasons when, half the memberships have already gone elsewhere, and we've done that. So is there a gamble? Sure. I think it's a gamble that is worth taking for the benefit of our community. I should preface, when I say this, I'm speaking purely on behalf of myself. The town, this has not been discussed by the town board yet at the level, they've obviously seen the emails that have been flying around. Some have responded, some have not. So, those opinions represent where I stand and not necessarily where the town stands.
I just want to, support everything the other committee members have been saying. It's a lot of work, but I know that we can pull it off. We just need to continue to be thoughtful and purposeful in all that we do. Ultimately, the community we need to keep the community's best interest at hand. So I know that we can get through this as long as we continue to work together. And I'm just grateful to be part of the hardworking committee that I'm on.
Now a good time to raise some questions. Okay.
Yeah, if anybody else has any questions for the committee, please.
Yeah, so thanks to you all and to Tim and Karen for being here as well. I have to say that, I read through the emails and the recommendations carefully and, made myself something of a pro and a con sheet. I think that it is really difficult right now to, I think we are making decisions under really unusual circumstances, and the unpredictability of our lives is very difficult. And I want to recognize that everybody is just trying to make the best, decisions possible for our community. And I really appreciate all of the hard work. And I will say there are some things in the plus column for me. First of all, just generally speaking, we have low rates, right? We have done a good job in our community so far. And we have no reason to believe that we would not continue to do a good job, right? I see that the groups that you are working with, definitely, the associational plans, the club plans, all of these, I mean, there are safety plans in place. They are, and folks have a vested interest in maintaining those, right, and keeping that, right? So I recognize that. I also recognize that there are others in nearby communities and communities far away that have been doing this successfully. That seems to me to be a super positive because that means there are models. We don't even have to reinvent the wheel. And I guess I think that if it works, this is definitely super beneficial for those families that are able to take advantage. And, physical and mental health are really important. And, there's a long list of reasons why our youth should have these opportunities. I do have some concerns. And so I don't know if it's ideal for me just to kind of give a list and then we can have conversation, or if you want to go one at a time. So maybe somebody just stop me if you want to jump in. The first has to do with budget. I understand that because the other rinks are closed, that suggests that we would have, more people seeking to use the ice. That seems like a positive. However, I haven't seen any data, right? I'd like to see some budget. I'd like to see, I'd like to know, and I'd like to know in particular because your plans suggested that beginning with the two clubs, would be a good place to start. And then we could sort of ramp it up from there and see if public skating and other opportunities would be appropriate. And I guess I'm curious to know if, even if we weren't to open beyond the clubs that come with the plans and all of that, would we be covering our costs? Because I think it's a very real possibility that we might not be able to open, right? Like we don't have a lot of predictability. So the issue of budget really concerns me. In terms of the safety and logistics category, would we close if the school's closed? It wouldn't make sense to me that we would be offering recreational activities for youth if the schools weren't able to remain open. I'm wondering about our ventilation systems. And mind you, I don't know anything about this, so they could be totally fine. But the fact of the matter is that the latest medical information, regardless of what is or isn't on the website, suggests that in fact, aerosols are a real problem, and that indoors is an issue. And that, so I'd like to know if our HVAC system meets all of the current guidelines for gyms to be reopened. Let's see. I guess I'm wondering about conversations with our public health department, with Dr. Williams, Dr. McGuire. Have those occurred? What are their recommendations for us?
We've reached out a couple times.
Dana McGuire is the public health, the nurse from the public health. I've reached out, Beth has reached out. There has been no additional guidance given to us.
Right.
In terms of ventilation, there's ventilation fans at both ends of that. There's no HVAC system in that arena. The ventilation, there's ventilation fans that will change over within a short period of time, all the air in the building.
I believe it was, I think it was said that it was like 6 minutes.
5 or somewhere there. So there is ventilation in that pavilion that will do an air change.
Does it help that the building's a sieve?
Is what?
Is a little bit of a sieve.
I
mean,
this is less about, not me,
Totally
right?
laughing.
It's about the general sort of, what is it that they're looking for to say okay, this is adequate ventilation. I honestly don't know what it is. It very much could be what's there and we're good to go, but I feel like I need to raise the question. And then my last question, I think, is, and this was raised, and I know there has been some, discussion about, Marty being able to keep an eye on things and so forth, but in the absence of a director, this seems to me to be an awful lot for a committee to be overseeing. And I have some concerns. I know that when I feel like there's a rush to something, that to make a weighty decision, that I should think and ask some more questions. And I do understand that there's a time issue here, and I definitely can appreciate that. But I want to feel comfortable that if I were to say, yes, I fully support this, let's go, that I want to, that these questions are answered, that in fact, this is really the best decision that the municipality is making on behalf of all of the residents of Canton. And one last question, I found it, sorry. Waivers. Did we get anywhere with waivers? Okay, I'm done.
Committee?
I'll start at the top. The budget question we have talked about in vague terms. Both the Figure Skating Club and Canton Minor Hockey have indicated that they will sign up for as much time as they ever have before, and maybe more, that because they can't use the other facilities in town, there will be high levels of use. But we don't have the actual dollars and cents of that. Sally did provide me with some budget information, which, because of a silly little fluke of me thinking it was spam, I haven't really looked at. But I'm also not the person who should and can crunch these numbers. And I think that speaks to, Anna, your question about, doing this in the absence of a director and somebody who's giving us, good, solid dollars and cents answers. Whether we would close, I guess, to the safety and logistics, I will say for myself, I feel very good about the safety and opening and safety, whatever, plan that was developed to begin with by Jim Putman and the staff, based on a lot of opening guidance and protocols from a lot of other organizations who have done it, as you said, safely already. We're given a lot of assurance that USA Hockey and USA Figure Skating, or those whatever those organizations are, have really strict safety and logistics protocols that the groups are planning to observe, with sort of a zero tolerance policy. The question of whether we would close if schools close, we did not answer or talk about, even, to be honest. And I think it's a fair question and a good question, and one that we need to understand as we go into this. If we open, if we make ice and we skate, are we open and staying open for the duration? Does that commit us, or are we ready to pull the plug at any time? That's a question we have not answered, and I think bears some discussion. The ventilation, as Mike said, there are big ceiling fans, attic fans, whatever you call. I understand it exchanges air in 6 minutes. That's what Ken says. I've got no evidence of that. I just know that's what they've said. That's what, I don't know that we've had, MERS testing or whatever the testing is that's required. And I don't know how you do that. No, we have not. We have reached out, as Mike and Beth said, to public health, and have not gotten follow-up answers. That was with, actually, to be honest, it was with Dr. McGuire. We did not reach out to Dr. Williams, and so we haven't done that yet.
So, sorry, go ahead.
And I believe I've had some conversation. Well, let me go to the waivers. The waiver, they're both of the groups, the ones that we're starting with, our pilot groups, Canton Minor Hockey and St. Lawrence Figure Skating, have waivers that are required by them and by their associations. We did talk about having a blanket waiver for Canton that we would speak with Jerry about developing for just general use. We have not done that yet either. And finally, to the discussion of contributing to my ambivalence, as I said, is the absence of a director as well. And I have spent more hours and more anxiety on this topic over the last week than I care to really admit. And in part, that's because I feel like I have to take some responsibility since there's no director. I have spoken with Marty, who appears to be willing to, at least for this period in the interim, take some, do some of the oversight work. I've talked to Mike, and I have had that conversation. That's not something that has been decided definitively either. So Anna, I would just like to say, I think they're all really good questions. They are mostly questions that we have thought about and considered, and to which we have, I think, some good answers, but if not conclusive, definitive answers. So that's a walk through that. I would invite committee members and/or I think we have people here both from Chrissy's here from the Figure Skating Club, and Kevin is here from
Minor Hockey.
Everybody from Minor Hockey. Jake was here. Is he gone? So anyway,
No,
Chrissy or Kevin, if you have anything you want to add. I can't get to the dumb second page.
Yep. Hi, Carol.
Anybody
It's
else?
Chrissy.
Okay, great. Go ahead, Chrissy.
Can you hear me? Yep. First of all, thank you. Thank you to the rec committee for the time and effort that they put into this. I just, when I am listening to some questions, I just wanted to, I know we've already looked at what other rinks are doing, and I know that question that was just brought up about schools, not that we have to do what other neighboring schools or rinks do, but it would be worthwhile to kind of check with them to see what they're doing and what their policies are as well. I'm imagining that Malone has a policy in which it's not reflective of the school. I believe it's reflective of the numbers in the county, but that might be something the Department of Health can help with as well.
Great.
Yeah, I would,
Chrissy,
I would,
thanks.
yeah, and I would foresee that if it came to that point, that we would have, a pretty quick emergency meeting and, figure out, if having conversations with public health to see what protocols we need to follow at that moment too.
Tim, anything to add? Or Kevin, do you have anything you want to throw in here from the minor hockey group?
No, just again, echo Colin Christie said. I appreciate you guys considering this, and I mean for everybody involved, not even just sports. We're in unprecedented times, right? That we're trying to work through, and none of us want any of our kids to get sick. So we've got protocols in place. We with the utmost caution to do what's right for our kids, is obviously our priority. So I just appreciate you guys having the conversation, and I appreciate your questions, because we've been through this a little bit, and we've talked a lot as our hockey board to try to do this safely. So we're anxious to get on the ice, but we do want to do it in a safe way. So yeah, so I appreciate the board's time, so thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Jake, you have anything you want to say?
I think I'm all set. I'm just mostly here to listen and see how things go. Thanks, though.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Okay, no one else have anything to contribute here?
You want to hear from board
Can
members, Mike?
Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
I understand that Jim's leaving has kind of caused some uncertainty with the pavilion, but I do not feel that one person leaving. Minor hockey and the figure skating club has said that we would do whatever we would need to do to keep the building up and running and support it anyway. But this one position shouldn't impact our entire community of skating, our skating community. Just know that there are a lot of people that are willing to help, volunteer time, etc. So I thought I needed to add that.
Good, thanks, Chrissy.
Thank you. I know we did a poll when I listened to one of the last rec meetings. There's over 400 people involved.
Yes.
In these programs right now.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tim.
I was just gonna say,
jump in with one thought before Klaus gets a chance there while we're on that. One of the, always try and find the bright spots with these things, right? The fact that there won't be spectators and parents and other crowds other than those on the ice going around the building actually makes it significantly easier on the staff to kind of keep things rolling and turn it around and do that. Obviously we in the committee have had discussions about, can we do this without a director? We've got these conflicting, things pulling us in two different directions where we really need to take this moment of pause and think about the rec program in general and think about the structure, before we jump in and do a director, and yet we have, the season coming on us. So, we've had those discussions. I don't think we would be, is there going to be a hiccup here or there? Yeah, there's just going to be every time we open the pavilion and get things going. But we're confident that, we can make it happen in doing that. Otherwise, we wouldn't have proceeded with the recommendation to this point if we didn't. I know Klaus is anxious to get in, so.
Well, I hate to be the party pooper here. I appreciate all the work that's gone into this very much. I feel an obligation to urge caution here. We're just taking a big risk. I'm certainly open to further discussion and want to see some of the questions answered that Anna and Carol have brought up. I have a sister-in-law teaches in Florida, in West Palm. She has about a dozen associates who have COVID. 3 of them have died. I think if a hiccup could mean that, I think we just have to be real damn careful here. I think we should wait in the next couple months, we'll learn a lot about what's going to happen. This could get a lot worse, or it might not get a lot worse. But I would urge putting it off maybe till January to give us these couple months to see what develops, and answer some of the questions, and keep the discussion going. Absolutely. But I just feel like I have to urge caution.
And I guess, go ahead, Anna.
I mean, okay. I think, I don't know that I don't know that I necessarily believe that we need to push it off many months. I have the sense, and I could be very wrong here, but that if we don't do this now, we're probably, or with some relatively soon, we're probably missing our opportunity. And so, and you know, correct me if I'm wrong about that, but I do have that sense. I don't believe we should rush into anything, but I do wonder if, given the numbers of people who would be impacted, and the fact that we have, you know, folks who are clearly very much invested in making this process go forward, if we could maybe take some time, like, you know, to go get answers to some of these questions. I think the budget question really remains a big one for me personally. And then maybe we could have a special meeting, you know, to bring it back around and see if we couldn't get a vote for it. I think that's where I stand.
I just want to respond, if I can, to comparing us with Florida. COVID is real. People have died from it. St. Lawrence County has done an incredibly good job at testing and keeping our numbers super low. Parents, droves of parents have talked to me, and one of the questions is, if we can't move under the conditions that we're in now, which are really low numbers, when will we be able to? And I guess where I am is that COVID has really, you know, it's held us hostage for a long time. We've learned a lot about it. We are within the guidelines to consider this. Other communities are opening up. There are 400 kids who are being impacted by this decision. It's a huge one for our community. It's a big deal. If we, I can respect needing to have some of the data, and I really, you know, appreciate your questions here too. But if we postpone this decision, I would really ask for this decision to need to be made within this week, because if we don't, hundreds, I'm not saying handfuls, but hundreds of kids are going to go other places. And I don't want to open up our community. I want to invite our community to use our facilities. And I'm afraid that if we don't, then we're going to be exposing ourselves in different ways. And I just think that we need to get these answers, and we need to make this decision fairly quickly, because I know that families are already asking our organizations, when is this decision going to be made? Because if it doesn't get made soon, I'm going to go to X community. And I do appreciate, Anna, that you're saying that you recognize that. And I don't, that we can't, I'm not sure that we can wait until January to make that decision.
I would just like to add that, you know, the committee has not been rushing into this decision. There's been a lot of hours and time spent making decisions, tossing around ideas. And at the end of the day, if there is a parent out there that is concerned about, you know, the danger about bringing their child to the arena, they're not going to bring their child. So I just want to make everybody aware on this call that we're not rushing into any decisions. So to make our facilities available to the community is one thing, but the parents who are truly worried about the danger, they're going to stay home. You know, I don't know if that adds anything to the conversation, but, you know, again, hours and hours of time have been contributed to this planning session. And the fact that, you know, we've come up with a opening and safety plan, you know, we're being cautious. We're trying to think of everything that goes into opening the arena safely.
The committee made a recommendation, did they not?
We did.
To move forward?
Can I just jump in again, Mayor? So
Yeah.
it's one thing I think we should all keep in mind. There's a bit of a built-in time lag here, right? Because the immediate decision before us is, do we flick the switch on the compressors at some point in time? And I know we still may need some clarity on exactly when that day comes based on the meter reading and demand usage, all that. You know, so we have a bit of a lag. I mean, the decision is, do we make ice? And that gives us a bit of a lag before. I mean, obviously there's no point in making ice unless your intent is to open, but there is that built-in thing. Like if we're not, any decision that's made, you know, within the next, you know, by the end of this month, people aren't pouring into the building the next day. There's a degree of built-in delay. You know, yeah, I mean, we all, obviously we know the dangers here, but what I've been struggling myself to wrap my head around is, you know, yes, COVID's dangerous, but what makes it so dangerous specific to the Canton Recreation Pavilion that it's not dangerous in Canton Central School? It's not dangerous in Sandstone Arena in Potsdam. It's not dangerous in Messina Arena. It's not dangerous in Louisville Arena. It's not dangerous anywhere around us where all of our children, well, all of our community members are going to go, right? Is there a degree of danger? Yeah, there's a degree of danger there. But on what basis do we decide as a community it's too dangerous here in Canton? I guess is what I'm struggling with about how we do that. And I'm struggling with the real world impacts. You know, if I have some expertise in COVID and I don't think that anybody should be taking their kid to any rink, then I'd be screaming that from the rooftops. But people that know more about this than I do have said, you know, they can do that. And I don't feel that I can override that. So,
and Tim,
I'm struggling with it, but yeah.
And I am encouraged that they've done it in other parts of our state already, and they've done it successfully. And we did open up Taylor Park, and we did open up the golf course, which included a building. And given what the regulations that we're putting into place and not having spectators in there and just using the camera so parents can see, I would equate that to, I mean, the golf course building is small. You know, I think we can make parallels there, and we successfully did that. So I think that we have the means to make this work. So I'll just end there.
Okay, to answer, you know,
Mayor Dalton, can I just ask a question? I guess I'm kind of concerned and have more comments as we talk about the budget. Wasn't the pavilion opening already part of a budget? And are you really looking at the increase in the budget due to safety measures? Because it sounds to me as if the same amount of ice is going to be rented, if not more. So I'm concerned about that, thinking, what does that actually mean if we need to go back and look at a budget?
I think the interest is just looking at numbers, understanding how the budget works for recreation. We'd like to think that everything we do, you know, our expense gets covered, but that's not the way recreation works in many ways. You know, the operation this summer at Taylor Park, you know, that's not a money-making operation. It's an operation that provides opportunity for our community to have recreation. So, you know, that's one thing you need to understand about recreation. It doesn't necessarily pay for itself. You know, we like to be able to break even on some of this high expense stuff, and you know, the pavilion is certainly high expense. I would like to think that generally we cover expense up there for electricity and personnel. And the rentals that Figure Skating Club have committed to and minor hockey is committed to goes a long, long ways to covering that expense. And I wish I had the solid number to give Anna right now, but I don't. But we can look at spreadsheets and that Sally has provided to show you what the expense is for some of this stuff. To answer Tim on a startup date, anytime after midnight or 12:01 on the 29th of this month, the meter resets.
Perfect.
And has no impact, you know, on the prior month. Demand metering is a little weird discussion. And the meter resets, all I can tell you is the meter resets on the 1st of, or on the 29th at 12:01. So anytime after that, you know, you could go into production on the ice. In terms of shutdown, if there's a, you know, a spike in COVID here, the schools right now in some areas are talking that they shut down for 2 weeks. You know, that's a very real possibility. If there was a spike in Canton, you'd have to decide if you were going to shut down for 2 weeks. Doesn't mean that you would turn the ice off and you know, lose it. You just close the building up and you'll go through a cleanup period in there, but the expense would be low because, you know, the lights aren't on. And depending on when and if that happened in the dead of winter, that ice is just going to sit there with little expense from electricity. So
when can we look at numbers?
well, Sally provided numbers, budget numbers, you know, over quite a large period of time for 2 years.
Yeah, that's my fault. I'm really sorry. There was a real miscommunication. Sally sent this stuff to me. I thought it was it's hard to explain. It looked like it was a spam address. Sally and I miscommunicated. So, but I will say this: I have those figures. I need help. I'm happy to share them. I don't have those figures. I have those budgets. I'm happy to share them, but I think there's something that perhaps we as the board could look at together, or Sally could walk us through that together, or we need to parse the numbers. It's just the budgets. You know, it's the electric bill and it's this and that. So, I mean, it seems to me that today's the 21st. If we have to do everything by the 29th, if we could answer, I have here 6 questions that Anna raised that I think merit just, you know, consideration and everybody feeling confident with the answers to them. If we can get those answers and if we can regroup and, you know, at the end of this week or next week, we could be ready to go.
I think our users certainly need to have an answer here soon, because it makes a difference in their program.
Yes, it does, and I'm willing to do it
If
in the next couple of days.
If we go until January to open, you're not going to open until you're going to lose a year.
Yep, you're not going to open.
I would like to say that I am in favor of taking some time to get some answers. I have, if it were January, I would say no now. I think waiting till January is not a workable solution right now.
I agree.
So I think the goal is to get to a place where we can comfortably agree that people are comfortable opening or not. Because in January, it's like starting a college year in the middle of the year. That's not going to happen.
No, because everybody's going to be already set and in different programs. And my concern, honestly, is that if we lose our kids now to other communities, there's no guarantee they're coming back. And that makes me anxious, because I want our community to support our own kids. And that has, you know, economic impact, and it's way bigger than just, you know, ice.
Sure it does, but you want them to be you want them to be healthy and alive ttoo. I mean, I think
I understand
you've got to
that.
have that in the balance. So,
Of course.
And if I may, you know, yeah, we definitely share that goal, right?
Yes, we do.
So that's a shared goal.
Thank you.
I appreciate the conversation, and even if y'all just humor me with the questions about the budget and so forth, like I do want to respond, Karen. I hope I never came across as suggesting that y'all were making a rush decision. I know you all have been working on this, but the conversation where I have been brought into it has been relatively recent, and I don't feel like I have the kind of information that I need to really feel confident that I can say, I made this decision, this is why, and I'm good with it. And I just want to be at that point. So, you know, if there is some additional time that could be had to be making, and I mean, you know, whenever we can get that information, I'm willing to come back to the table.
I think we you know, we will work diligently to, you know, I think there's some reluctance to put hard numbers down because there's a lot of unknowns in the equation. As we said, you know, we have confidence that the users will rent the ice. You know, we can look at the budget. I think at the end of the day, again, without putting in numbers to it, if we assume, you know, our employee costs are going to remain what they are, I'm willing to say our budget's going to come out ahead if we open versus if we don't. But that's, you know, but budget, it's obviously a consideration. It's not the driving goal here. You know, keeping everybody healthy and safe is the best thing. And again, it's going to sound counterintuitive to some. I'm a firm belief that opening that building, given that everybody else around us is opening and their programs are running, that us opening our building is, you know, keeping our, and I fully understand that, you know, somebody could make a counter argument to that. I would
Tim,
say,
I would can I just remind you one thing, Tim, is, you know, you and I and Beth have been looking at this rec budget for a long time. For Anna, she hasn't been
Right.
on the board through a winter. So the things that are familiar to us are not to her. I think it's fair. It's not that I don't think she's looking to or anyone's looking to balance the budget or anything. It's just to understand it.
Right,
Understand
absolutely.
the dollars
Absolutely. And I
cents.
think, and any look at the budget needs to consider both scenarios, opening versus not opening, right?
Right,
To see how they
exactly.
compare. You can't just say, here's what the budget looks like if we open and we expect this. You know,
I
we
think
need
that's
to
the
look at
exact exercise
Yep.
that we're looking for.
Yep. I would just say, you know, the town has a meeting scheduled for this Wednesday. It's a budget work session, but at least, you know, that's on our calendar this coming Wednesday, 2 days from now.
What time?
That's at 6 p.m. So we can add this. I think we can and need to. Karen, hop in if I'm wrong. We need to add this on our side to have some discussion from the town. You know, some members have chimed in on the email chain and some have not responded at all. So, you know, whatever we can, obviously any, you know, to continue this discussion and have as many of you on the village side join as possible would be helpful in the interest of keeping these moving. I know it seems rushed, but we as the committee, like we identified, you know, we weren't going to be in any position to, you know, start recommending towards the end of August. Okay, let's start recommending the opening. Like we needed to make sure, you know, if the schools weren't opening, we weren't going to be recommending going with an ice season, right? If the schools were closing, that was ball game right there. You know, looking at the consideration of the fall sports, like we mentioned there, that, you know, if the situation is such that Section 10 doesn't feel like they can complete outdoor low risk fall sports, that's a pretty strong red flag that, you know, the ice season's probably a non-starter at that point too. So I know it seems rushed a little bit, but we wanted to make sure those two things were kind of met. You know, it's not, they're not necessarily, you know, that's not the final green light you need, but those are both be red lights right there. So.
And they're green lights.
Those are green. They're not the last lights in the line though.
No, not at all.
Okay, everybody,
So can I propose, Wednesday night, the town is meeting. Can I propose that the rec committee meet on Thursday and we can have all these answers and we can present them? How do we move forward here?
well, I think the users are owed
I agree.
an answer. And I think the users are owed an answer soon. I think the committee's done a good job of making recommendations. If our board members have some questions, they deserve answers. But I'm gonna stand by what I know. And I believe we can give our users an answer that we can open here within a relatively short period of time.
I mean, I think let's just Carol, Beth, and Karen and myself just keep some emails and conversations going tomorrow and try and have as much as we can have by Wednesday night. Let's have it.
Let's have it.
But I do depend on our committees to make recommendations, to study, to put the effort and the work in and make decisions and come back with recommendations. So I know they put the effort in.
And I appreciate the process. I think we make recommendations so that we can offer the board members opportunities to give, I think informed feedback and also to ask more questions. I think the process is working exactly as it should. We'll keep it moving. I have the list of 6 questions. I'll put that out to the committee and we'll say, who's getting answers to what.
And I can't thank people enough for asking those questions so that we can find those answers too.
Okay. With that being said, committee's got a job to do. Let's move forward. Come up with the answers and then we'll get back at this here in the next few days.
Yeah, so I would say to the stakeholders, to those who are on the line who are interested, to the press, we're going to work it as absolutely quickly as we can. But there's a line in the sand here that, by the 29th, which is a week, we need to have a decision. We need to be ready to go. So I would hope if it's not by the end of this week, that Monday we would have something. And if we can do it by the end of this week, so much the better.
One last item on the agenda is public comment. Is there any public comment? There being none, I need a motion to go into executive session for one quick item dealing with employment. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Sally, hang in there, please. Everybody else, thank you.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
So Kara, I got it.
You got it. All right, you'll stop recording.
Yep, I sure will. Actually, I'll do that right now.
Okay.
Did we? Yeah, we went into this. Yeah, we'll do. Hey,
All right.
Kara, do you need me to record again to adjourn the meeting? You don't need that, do you?
Sally takes those minutes and then she gives them to me and I add them.
But the point, right? But the point is, I don't need to turn the recording back on again to adjourn the regular meeting.
Sally says no.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. All right.
All
Thanks,
right.
Kara.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Are we going to
Night.
assume that Linda's like fallen asleep or something, and I'm going to remove her?
Yeah, you can.
Good chance.
Marty, it was great to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Marty.
thank you. Have a good night.
Good night, Marty.
Good night.
Night, Marty.
Good night, Marty.
Talk to you soon, Marty.
Yeah.
I'm leaving.
You get out of here, or I'll remove you.
Oh no, it says
He's
I
trying.
have to assign again. Okay.
I thought you might, because I think when I dumped out, I lost my powers. No, I couldn't have, because I just removed him.
Lost your powers.
Carol always has powers.
Can you again?
It says you're assigned, so I don't understand. I'm trying to assign it to Sat. Oh, wait.
There's
I'll
your
if you-
host.
See if you can do it to Anna.
All right.
All right.
Okay, this is real quick. The town's working on their budget.
Wait. Hold on.